The people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected.
Tim Miller of the Bulwark takes a look at these recent clips you may have been seeing about town hall instances in Georgia where, you know, people are telling their Republican representative how upset they are about what's going on with Trump and Trump 2.0. Let's watch this together. I'll have opinions as we go, and then I want to know what you would think in the comments, but let's roll it.
We're starting to see the ramifications of the Trump administration's choices over the past month come to reality for Republican elected officials. And I think maybe the first, what would you say, inflection point of regular people pushing back that we've really seen is at this town hall that Georgia Republican Rich McCormick held last night. He represents Georgia's 7th district, which is northeast of Atlanta, but like exurbs, northeast of Stone Mountain, like Norcross, if people know the area. He won with 64% of the vote. So this is not a swing district. This is not the suburbs. This is
this is not suburbs. Yeah.
And so he got some big pushback last night. We're going to play a couple of the clips, but Sam, I'm curious just kind of your top line thoughts before we play a clip.
So the reason I find this interesting is we got a little inkling when we did that story about how the congressmen and women were responding to their constituent complaints, right? They were writing these letters. They were posturing like, oh, I support Elon, but I'm making sure that he's not going too far, and I have all these protections. And that kind of, when we did that piece, my light bulb went off. I was like, ooh, that's interesting. They're getting some pushback. This, to me, is much more visceral, right? Like, obviously, every time you see something in footage, it's more visceral than if you are reading it in text. And when I saw this last night, my instinct was, and I'm not the only one who had this reminds me of 2009, 2010, and the Tea Party stuff. And it was specifically the Obamacare town halls. And then also, if I'm another Republican in Congress, like I see that, and that kind of spooks me a little bit.
Well, you were on the White House beat during those Obamacare.
So I back in 2009, 2010, I was covering the Obama White House for HuffPost, and basically the context was they were pursuing this incredibly ambitious healthcare policy, and it was the third rail, right? Like Clinton had touched it and lived to regret it, but no one else really wanted to do healthcare because, well, they wanted to do it, but they knew it was going to be problematic. And the first taste of just how problematic it was in these town halls. Now, some of the Tea Party stuff was about the bailouts and the economic recovery program, but really it was people coming in and being like, you are going to take away my health insurance. You're not going to let me go see my doctor. People were freaking out. And Democrats just were completely ill-equipped and ill-prepared to handle. They just didn't know what to do. And it overwhelmed the town halls, and it almost killed Obamacare, frankly.
Yeah.
Personally, I would love this to be the canary in the coal mine in the beginning of a popular uprising against this administration that affects real change. But as they point out, it didn't kill Obamacare. And I think unlike the Democrats, who basically try to stick with playing by the rules, and I know all politicians spin and lie to varying degrees, but this particular Republican Party now is so entrenched in alternate facts and the big lie and multiple big lies, and they're very blithe about it, that I don't see this necessarily slowing them down at all. The people being unhappy with them doesn't matter now that they're in power, but I can cross my fingers.
Here's, I think, our first taste about how Republicans are going to handle it. Rich McCormick telling a mob of righteously angry constituents who are upset about what is happening and the firings and the impact on their community, telling them that they are the same as January 6th insurrectionists. Let's watch.
Here Tyranny is rising in the White House, and a man has declared himself our king. So I would like to know, rather, the people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
When you talk about tyranny, when you talk about presidential power, I remember having the same discussion with Republicans when Biden was elected. The funny thing is, you're sitting here and a lot of you would probably say those January 6s who are yelling just as loud as you, who are upset just like you.
You know, maybe not the talking point you're going to go for.
I guess we finesse that one a little bit.
In the mega context where these people are heroes, and get to perform at the Kennedy Center, maybe he could spin it as I was trying to compliment you.
Have you booked your tickets for the J6 Choir at the Kennedy Center?
I'm waiting. I've never been to the Kennedy Center for a show, so it'll be my first one.
This is gonna be great. Yeah, I'm gonna pregame. No, I would have done a different. would have taken a different approach to that one. But look, it's that question was interesting because it had nothing to do with DOGE, although some other people asked about DOGE, right? And it didn't really have to do with the cuts, although it was related to the cuts. It was Trump's acting tyrannical and please rein him in. And that is just if you're a Republican in Congress, that's even tougher than DOGE, right? Because DOGE, you can be like, look, I don't want Elon to do this either. We're trying to make some, guardrails here. I want to make sure he's not getting your privacy information, yada, yada, yada. This is different. This is your hero, Donald Trump, has taken it too far. Please rein him in. And he doesn't have a response.
Yeah. We also see a little bit on the DOGE stuff itself, and Bulwark super fan Maggie Goldman, who's running for office down there in Georgia, was there at the town hall and has a couple of videos on his show here. But he is getting pressed specifically about the cuts,
right?
Because again, it's not just touching DC; it's touching all of these communities.
And this is just to be clear, so this is near Atlanta again. That's the home of the CDC.
Yeah.
The Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They've cut 1,000 people they want to cut there. It's crazy. So this is hitting close on, but this is everywhere. The cuts are national.
What's not reasonable is taking this chainsaw approach, which they obviously admit when they fired these people, then decided, we fired the wrong people. We got to bring them back in. Why is this being jammed down the pipe so rushed and sloppily? So.
Is when you say you have this many employees that you have to cut, that organization decides who they're going to cut. Now they may
I don't know that he got what he was signing up for here. The place is packed. And there's been kind of this discussion. We've been having it. Everybody's been having it of it felt different than 2016. There was an apathy. There was a nihilism. People were beaten down. People wanted to check out. You didn't see the big protests. There have been some protests here and there, but the energy here is palpable in these clips.
And Tim, I think you were talking about this online, or maybe you were tweeting someone else talking about it, but Democrats don't seem to be harnessing it, right? Democrats almost might get engulfed by it too, which is.
Democratic politicians, you mean?
Yeah. Their people want something in terms of a reaction to this stuff, and I'm not sure what the politicians can give them, and that's a bad place for the Democrats too, because they might come for the Democrats and say, you're not doing enough.
I mean, they can do stuff. They can give them fire and brimstone. They can block some of these stuff on the Hill. They can, you know what I mean? They
should show more.
Yeah, they got to channel the energy. I was talking about this on the pod yesterday. I don't have the poll in front of me right now, but it was an overwhelming majority of Democrats, I think in the area of 70%, when asked, are Democratic elected officials doing enough to fight Trump? They're doing too much or too little. It was 70% was too little, right? As opposed to just the right amount. And it was it's overwhelming majority. And so I do think that Democrats could get swept up in this. Obviously, the anger is pointed towards Elon and Musk, but the anger is also pointed to just kind of a lack of, anything happening to slow them down. And to me, it's also an opportunity for some Democrats actually to really get famous and and become a leader and channel
exactly.
the energy.
If I were a young up and coming Democrat, that's something you could tap into. It's very interesting because you're exactly right. In 2017, all of them were tapping into it. I mean, you watched them fundraising on Facebook. The numbers were astronomical. Now, less so. Quickly back to the Republicans, though, because it wasn't. I just want to be clear. This was not a isolated town hall. First of all, members don't really do town halls that much anymore because they want to avoid this stuff. But this is not isolated. So there's a couple clips just this morning. CNN has a story out about how Republicans and state officials are worried about Trump's FEMA cuts. So that was one that I thought was interesting. Politico has a piece out. Of course, the headline makes your eyes roll, but the private GOP panic over the slash and burn DOGE firings. Come on, folks. You can speak up. It's okay. You don't have to do this. And this is one anonymous congressional aide. Quote, "I thought we were supposed to be in a new era of meritocracy, not the indiscriminate firing of people." Blah, 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 blah. But this one is on the record. Representative Troy Balderson, he's of Ohio. He described President Donald Trump's flurry of executive orders as, quote, "getting out of control," at an event at a Westerville area chamber business luncheon on Thursday. So you're starting to see a little bits and pieces here and there of anxiety, of worry from Republicans. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, well, and they haven't done anything. To kill Republicans. This is I think the other interesting thing. The idea of them being able to govern could completely crumble before they even actually get anything out the door.
Was there an idea that they were able to?
This was part of the suggestion. There was not to get too wonky, but I did an interview with Liam Donovan a while back, and there was who's just a Hill watcher, and there was this debate happening internally in Republican circles. Do we do one big thing out of the gate that's fund a bunch of, I think it was mostly immigration, right? Fund a bunch of security,
border security,
new ICE officials, and just get a bill out the door to have something that Trump signs and to have some momentum in the first 100 days. And then there were some technical reasons why they decided not to do that. They're to do this kind of big omnibus thing that does some immigration and some tax cuts and DOGE and everything. And I mean, it's just initially I just, as an outsider who has no interest in them succeeding, was well, obviously they should do the first option, right, and try to get something done, because this big bill is seems like a total clusterfuck. And if you have random dudes like Troy Balderson already worried.
The idea you do a huge bill when you have a 2-seat majority. I'm gonna have to squeeze that one in. No, and then we keep in mind they got to fund the government in a month, right? It's just, you're absolutely right. This stuff that we've seen in the first month has not required any congressional Republican involvement whatsoever. They've had to confirm, the confirmations, but at some point they're going to have to put their, pencils to paper, I think, and we'll see what happens there. But
maybe King Trump has other ideas.
Right? Maybe King Trump does have other ideas. I don't know. We'll see. I join with them in their sort of, shaking my head big omnibus bill with only a 2-vote majority. But, it hasn't slowed them down so far. They've been getting these confirmations across the line with that slim a majority. And I don't know. I'm not feeling incredibly optimistic, but I guess we'll see. Let me know what you all think in the comments.